The illusion of progress is what's stopping you from actually achieving your goals. But what's more sinister than the illusion itself is that you are actually casting this illusion. Your own mind is running a program in the background that's stopping you from achieving your dreams and your desires. Now, in order for you to actually break this illusion once and for all and finally conquer it, you must first understand that you're in an illusion to begin with. Because without you understanding that you are in an illusion, you will be subject to the will of your subconscious mind and other forces. Think about it this way, because I've had people message me and ask me, why do I need to know all this other background information in order for me to start moving? I'll explain to you why. In the movie The Matrix, we got Neo, we have Morpheus. I'm pretty sure I'm spelling Morpheus wrong, but you get the point. In the movie The Matrix, Neo is going about his life and he feels that something is off, but he just can't put his finger on it. He goes about life, he does these things, and he's searching for an answer. He knows something's off, but he can't put his finger on it. In comes Morpheus. Morpheus comes over to Neo and is like, listen, bro, you're in a simulation, right? Neo's like, no way, bro, that's not possible. This is real. Like, what do you mean I'm in a simulation? He then offers him the red and the blue pill. Neo takes the red pill, and then he realizes that he's in the Matrix. Now, what's important about this is because without him realizing that he's in the Matrix to begin with, he can't control it. Now that he understands that he's in the Matrix, he can come back and now control the actual Matrix, which is why he is the one and he has all these crazy powers and stuff. So same thing for you. If you don't understand or you don't realize that you're in an illusion, you can't escape or control the illusion. So that's why it is important to understand and know where these come from so that you can use your own mind to work with you instead of against you. Because here's the thing that you're fighting against. You're not fighting against anything else but yourself. 95% of your mind is subconscious. Versus the 5% that you actually have access to. 5% of your mind is actually conscious. 95%. That means the 95% of your behaviors, your beliefs, and your habits all are subconscious. You're already at a disadvantage here. Now, instead of sitting down and being like, oh man, like this sucks, like I'm at a disadvantage, what do I do? Instead of thinking that way, what you're going to do is realize that the 5%, don't let the numbers fool you. The 5% is actually very powerful because the 5% is what allows you to choose. You have the conscious choice to choose how to respond and how to look at things, what to consume, which influences the 95%. And then you can get the subconscious to actually work with you. Okay? So the whole point of this is not to fight human nature, okay? Because you can't fight human nature. Remember, you're up against billions of years of evolution, past lives, whatever you think, and you are just here now. You need to work with your mind so that your mind can help you push towards your goals instead of pushing against you. Think about it this way. You know when they tell you when you're swimming to swim against the current? No, not swim against the current. You gotta swim diagonal to the current, not against the current, because you will lose energy and drown if you try swimming against the current. It's the same way your mind works. If you keep pushing against your mind, you're just gonna lose energy, your mind's gonna deprioritize it, and you're not going to pretty much get anything done. So now that you understand this, right, let's understand your actual mind and how you perceive reality. This is you. Okay? This right here is you. You are the observer. Okay? This is you. This right here is your identity. Your identity holds your beliefs, habits, and experiences. All of this blends together to create your unique perspective. Right? This perspective creates your identity. Now, your identity needs to be there because if you don't have an identity, you will not be able to function in this world. Your mind needs something to identify with so it can actually, have a reference for in this reality. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you only know for true and 100% is that you're alive and you're experiencing something. There's debates on what you're experiencing, what this is. Doesn't matter. The point is that the one thing you know 100% to be true is that you are conscious. Okay? Now, what's interesting about this, some people call this a bunch of things, but I also like to call this your unique frame. Because it's easier to think about it this way. Okay? Now, what's interesting is that because you have your thoughts, your beliefs, and your habits. Sorry, sorry, I just ate like a sandwich earlier. But basically, the reason why we have to understand that this is how your mind works is because you have deep-rooted beliefs that actually stop you from achieving your goals. Now, the reason why we must understand this is because once we understand how your mind actually works and how you perceive reality, you can actually use it to work with you instead of against you, okay? So you are the observer. This is your frame, okay? Now, what's interesting is that this frame is malleable, which means that it can always change. It's always constant. It's always a change. But your mind fears change. The subconscious mind, the observer, fears change because it doesn't like when something new is introduced. Okay? So think about it this way. Okay, this is a frame that your mind is familiar with. Just like a camera that shoots 30 frames a second, just like this camera right here, your mind perceives reality in frames per second. The only thing that gives validity to this reality that we exist in is time, right? Your mind experiences time, which is why it's able to break down the unfathomable into little bits of pieces that we can understand, which is where you get your frame. Okay? Now, just like a camera, you can change your frame. And that's pretty much the goal of what I'm trying to get you to understand in this video, because you can actually change your frame, your thoughts, habits, and beliefs and experiences to get a different outcome, to get a different reality. You see, the problem is why you're not changing, or the real problem why you're not able to achieve your goals and you're stuck in this illusion, is because you actually don't believe you can actually achieve those dreams and those goals. Now, some of you are probably sitting down and it's like, nah, that's BS. I actually believe it. But here's the thing, okay? There's things you actually believe and things you think you believe. Okay, so how do you know the difference? If your goal is to start hitting the gym every single day because you want to be ripped and you start missing out on the gym and you don't go to the gym consistently, you don't believe that you could actually be ripped. It's that simple. Because if you actually believed it, you would continue to do it no matter what. Right now, you believe that and it's true, by the way, if you go 3 days without water, you're cooked, you're done. So you're gonna get up and get water no matter how you feel. You understand what I'm saying? So if you have a goal that requires you to go out and do things and you're not doing those things, you don't actually believe it, you think you believe it. And then you sit there and you keep telling yourself like, oh, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and it keeps pushing further and further away, thus you never actually do it. So the things you actually believe is what governs the observer. Because the observer, aka you, is scanning your environment constantly, every single day, to make sure that what it believes is true. The moment you start acting outside of this little box that your mind has created for you, it then creates fear. Fear is the biggest driver in humans, period, because fear is what gets you to move. Now, here's the thing. You can either be paralyzed by fear or you can move with fear in another direction, right? But the thing is that most people actually get paralyzed by fear because they don't know what to do. It's like a deer stuck in headlights, the fight or flight instinct. A lot of people are fight, a lot of people are flight. It's just, you got to be put in that position to really understand what you're doing, but you can actually choose to be either or, right? So the things you actually believe is what governs your reality. If you have these beliefs that you're trying to change and then you don't change, then it's going to reinforce that you don't actually believe it. So the way to actually get yourself to believe something is to constantly reinforce it by doing repetition and doing things every single day. So if you believe that you're going to be shredded in 3 months, then you need to prove to yourself and your mind that you're going to go out every single day and actually do it, right? Let me just get some water right here. Okay. But like I said, your identity is malleable and you're able to change your identity by changing your beliefs, your thoughts, and your habits. And by doing that, you actually change your reality and you dismantle the illusion because you're actually using it for your own benefit. And this is what alchemy is, but we're going to get into that more later in the video. But first, you must understand where the illusion even starts, right? Because, we got into the beliefs, the thoughts, and the habits, and that's just background information for you to understand why you're in the illusion in the first place. But what actually gets someone to get stuck in this illusion that causes them to never achieve the things they want to achieve or go out and do the things they want to do? And this is what I call the knowledge cycle. The knowledge cycle is probably one of the deadliest things you can get yourself caught in. So what is the knowledge cycle? The knowledge cycle is exactly what it sounds like. It's the process of constantly consuming information. Now, what's dangerous about this is that there's a fine line between actually learning and just learning just because it feels good, okay? So think about it this way. This is you, right? You're consuming a bunch of information. So whether that's books, videos, people you follow and stuff like that, when you consume information on a daily basis and you're constantly fueling your mind with this, it feels like it's progress because you're learning a lot of things. But what you can fall into, and this is where it gets interesting, is that you can fall into decision paralysis. Decision paralysis, because what happens is when we go out and learn new information, right? Not only does it trigger dopamine, but it creates decision paralysis because you have different sources of information telling you what's true and what's not true. Go on your YouTube homepage. That's probably where you found this video. And if you notice, you're getting fed a bunch of different creators all telling the same thing, but they're telling you what's wrong, do this, do that, do this. And then you sit there and nothing gets done. That is the main core of the knowledge cycle. But here's the interesting thing, is that a lot of people don't realize is that this triggers dopamine, right? Our minds work on a reward-based system. And the reason why it works this way is because our mind is literally, you gotta remember about evolution. Back then, we didn't really have anything except this world and our will to survive. When we went out hunting back then, we got dopamine. So that told us that, we need to keep hunting because this feels good. We need to keep feeding ourselves to stay alive. But nowadays, this system is hijacked. I'm pretty sure I spelled that wrong, but it's hijacked through social media, mainly through social media. That's where it's hijacked. Movie, entertainments, all of that. It's been hijacked. Now knowledge, because it's so accessible now, it is now hijacking your system. The knowledge cycle of constantly learning things and never doing them. How many of you have actually been caught in this cycle, and now that I'm talking about it, you're just realizing it now? Maybe you've been realized it, but you just keep doing it. Why? Because knowledge creates comfort. And I'm not talking about the hoodies. Right? I'm talking about actual comfort. This knowledge actually encapsulates you inside of the cocoon, and it creates comfortability because it feels like you're doing something. And naturally, that you are learning, okay? You are learning. But the thing is that what separates those from actually achieving things and those who stay the same is not about knowing more. It's not about being better. It's very simple. Action. That's what separates those from achieve and those who don't achieve, is action. And knowledge without action is just a fancy, word for just learning things, okay? You need to turn your knowledge into wisdom, and the only way you turn knowledge into wisdom is by going out and getting experience, by applying that knowledge, and then getting feedback from the world, from the universe, and actually internalizing that, right? When you are constantly learning something, you don't really do anything, because think about it this way, all right? Someone had to go out, eat a mushroom, and fucking die. You know what I mean? Back then, when we were trying to figure out what is good to eat and stuff like that, someone ate a mushroom and died. You think they would have known that if someone told them, hey, that thing might kill you, or someone actually doing it and then dying from the mushroom, okay? There's people who are out there and they spend their whole lives just learning stuff and never doing anything. You ever had that one person who's just a fucking Wikipedia? Every single time you talk about something, they're like, well, actually, you know what I mean? And then they don't really do anything. They just tell you things. They don't really do anything. It's like, yo, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? So, so decision paralysis is actually what stops you from taking your action. So these two go hand in hand, because when you're going out and you're learning something new, especially when it has to do with, starting a business or going on some venture, you have multiple sources of information telling you what to do. But here's the thing. You need to definitely cross-reference your sources, but it can become a fine line and a trap, because you got to think about it. This platform, let me make this very clear. YouTube and every other platform, their goal is to keep you on the platform. okay? How do they do this? They look at everything, like this is how it works, okay? They create a digital version of you, a digital version of you. And in this little digital version of you, you have your interests, beliefs. Yes, they have your beliefs, by the way. And your habits, your viewing habits. They use all of this information to create recommendations. Now, the goal is to keep you on the platform as long as possible. So they feed you recommendations based off your viewing history, what you search up, what you interact with, and they feed you videos based on that. Now, the creators are the suppliers. Because YouTube doesn't create videos. YouTube only pushes out and recommends videos. Why is my nose so itchy? Right? The creators supply videos. Now, the job of the creator is to get you to click on the video by using psychology. That's how you clicked on this video. It's that simple. The title of this video is The Illusion of Progress and How to Conquer It. It hit you in some way. YouTube knows it's going to hit you. That's why you clicked on this video, and that's why you're watching this right now. Right? The creators use psychology to get you to click on their videos. So how do they do that? Well, the best way to get someone to click on your video is to do something controversial. Pretty sure I'm spelling that wrong. Do something controversial, or do something that's against the norm, or mention that something that people already believe to be true is actually not true. So when you're going out and you're learning all these things and you're constantly being fed this information, YouTube is feeding you recommendations. You're learning about all these things within the same bracket because you're only going to be given videos based on the interest that you have. So the same bracket of information is being fed to you, but now you have 20 different sources telling you what's right, what's wrong, what's right, and what's wrong. And then you sit there, spend 8 hours doing nothing. And then you wonder why nothing is changing. You sit there for 8 hours consuming the same information from multiple different sources in different ways to reframe it to make it look like it's interesting. You spend 8 hours learning all of this stuff and do nothing, and then wonder why nothing is changing. Kind of funny, right? It's kind of funny when you think about it that way. When you put everything in this perspective, it actually looks like, what the fuck have I been doing? A lot of people don't even realize that they're being hijacked, they're being played, their mind is being used against them by these big ass corporations to keep you on the platform as long as possible, because the more you go out and do things, the less you actually spend on these platforms. The less you spend on these platforms. So their goal is to keep you on here as long as possible. That's their goal. Oh my God, my nose. So, now that you understand how YouTube works and decision paralysis, this is where the illusion of progress actually comes in. It all comes down to dopamine, okay? Like I said, our mind works on an award-based system. You know, I've been seeing a bunch of Instagram motivational posts talking about dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. Most people don't even understand what the hell dopamine is. But dopamine, simplest terms, is just a reward-based system. When you have less dopamine, you have more drive. This drive is what causes you to actually go out and try to get the thing that you're after. And when you finally get the thing that you want, the dopamine goes up, the drive goes down. That's simple. Okay? So how is this feeding in to the illusion of progress? Well, it goes back to the knowledge cycle. See, a lot of people have these goals of achieving X amount a month, being the best version of themselves, whatever that goal is for you. And because these platforms know that that's your goal, it's going to consistently feed that information to you. Now, if you don't realize, now here's the thing, that information is good for your mind to constantly realize, because you do need to constantly, take that information in so that you can actually believe those things. But what becomes a trap is when you don't realize that the more you consume and less produce, the more you become a consumer and not a producer. So when you're having all of this knowledge come after you, right? The dopamine goes up because you feel like you're doing something, right? Now the dopamine goes up, drive goes down, which is why you're not doing anything, So how do you actually stop this from happening to you over and over and over again? Because all of this feeds into the illusion of progress, because the illusion of progress is literally just an illusion. It's an illusion that you think that you're actually achieving things when in reality you're actually doing jack shit and you're doing nothing. So in order to stop this illusion of progress, first you need to understand it, which is what this whole half of the video was in the first place. Now, how do you actually stop this from happening? Stick to one source. Now, this is what I mean, okay? Because what people don't understand is that you need to stick to one source of information when you're first starting, okay? A lot of people get into the habit of trying to find out every little thing, learning about every single facet of everything before they go out and start doing anything. The best teacher is not information, is experience. How do you get experience? You go out and find out. Mic drop. Now you go out and find out. You go out and actually do things. So if you're starting a business, okay, because I work with 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs, and I coach them on I coach them. And the one thing that I've learned from them is they don't sit around and try to learn every single thing about a business before they go out and start doing things. They start doing things immediately. They start doing things fast. Speed beats skill 100% of the time, because when you're going out and you're getting multiple repetitions back to back to back to back, you actually learn and become better than someone who is naturally born as someone with the gift, right? Speed. So instead of spending hours and hours of researching, I remember I spoke to someone a few months ago, and there's a, yo, bro, I see what you're doing, and I want to start my own thing. I'm gonna do it. And then 6 months passes, he hits me up again. Well, I hit him up, and I was like, yo, how's it going? And he was like, yeah, bro, I just started getting the samples. And I was like, it took you 6 months to get samples? Like, what the fuck have you been doing this whole time? And the whole time, he was going back and forth with his fear. He was going back and forth with learning things. He was telling me about like different manufacturers and all the little nuanced information and stuff. Is like, to be completely honest, if you are efficient with your time, you can learn how to start a whole business model in 8 hours. That's how much information is out there. 8 hours. There's so many people on this platform on YouTube who give out the value, the information for free, like I am doing here right now. There's so many people out there who condense years and years of experience, not knowledge, experience, into a few hour videos. You can sit down and learn everything you need to know about a certain thing in about 8 hours time, and that's that. If you spend any more hours than 8 hours on learning a topic, especially when it comes to starting a business, then you're already set up to fail, because you're not going to become an expert in 8 hours. Let me make that real. Let me be honest. You're not going to become an expert. But what you are going to do is you're going to be able to actually go out and start doing it. Because that's the main problem of people in this knowledge cycle. They don't do anything. Right? Now, what's interesting is what's stopping you from going out to do it. It's fear. Fear is the one thing that's stopping you from getting up right now and going out to actually do something about it. Why? Because fear is what keeps you in check. Your mind knows this. Your mind uses fear against you to stop you from becoming the version of yourself that's successful. Right? Think about it this way. This is you. This is the bridge to your most successful version of yourself. This version of yourself already exists. Okay? That version of you already exists because the mind can conceive it, it can achieve it. Before anything physical, it comes to the mind first. Your mind operates on a different dimension. Your mind literally operates on the fourth dimension, which is time. Okay? Your mind is not subject to the same parameters of time that our physical bodies are, which is why we can think about the most successful version of ourselves and experience it there firsthand. Now, here's what's interesting, is that your mind doesn't know the difference between strong visualization and reality. Which is why the mind is so powerful. If you can actually achieve or see the goal that you want in absolute clarity, I'm not just talking about thinking about the idea, I'm talking about experiencing. How does it feel when you wake up? How does the wind feel on your skin on that day? How does the thoughts in your mind look when you're in that reality? That is reality transurfing. But point is that this version of you already exists. This is you here. So what's between the bridge from here to here? Your beliefs. The bridge between the version of yourself that you are right now and the version of yourself that's operating at 100% clarity and conviction is belief. Now, what stops the belief? Fear is what stops the belief. Fear is the number one weapon that your mind uses to keep you in check, because what did I say earlier? Your mind likes things to be the same. Okay, it doesn't like change. It doesn't matter if it's good for you. It doesn't matter if it's bad for you. Your mind does not give a shit. It only cares about what it believes, and it protects you, the observer. It's all about protection. Okay, the subconscious mind is there to protect you. It's not there to do anything else except reinforce the identity that you have been given. Okay? So how do we use fear? How do we conquer fear? These are the questions you should be asking. Because if you understand that you can do everything you want in this life and that you are actually in your own way, well, how do you understand or use fear to work with you instead of against you? This is where we get into this. So if you think about fear as a virus, okay? Fear always exists. You can't get rid of fear, okay? Fear is always going to exist because it's the baseline of your conscious. Think about it as like the base code of your existence or of a program. This lies in the roots of everything that you do, is what keeps you alive and what it keeps you moving. When you're going to the edge of a building and you look down, you feel fear because you know you could die, and it stops you from jumping over. If you didn't have fear, you would just jump. You know what I mean? Now, fear is a virus. Now, when you attach fear to a story, AKA, I can't do this, I don't know, next week, if you noticed, all of these statements connect to fear. It creates a virus. What does a virus do? It multiplies. Oh my God, my nose. The virus multiplies. So the moment you give fear exactly what it wants, which is a story, and then uses that story to start multiplying fear, and then what happens is it gets to a point where there's so much fear in your system, only two things happen. You either become paralyzed or you start moving. Right? This is the fight or flight. Most people would actually become paralyzed with fear. That's what your subconscious mind wants you to do, because your subconscious mind wants you to stay the same. So it uses fear to paralyze you so you stop moving. Isn't that sinister as fuck, man? Isn't that crazy that your own mind will stop you from actually achieving the things you want to achieve? It's insane. And it's you, it's nobody else. Nobody else is stopping you, nobody else is blamed. There's no one else to blame except you. Now, a lot of people have a tough time understanding or accepting the fact that all of this has to do with you and nobody else, because we are taught to blame things on other people instead of taking responsibility. Okay, so this, let me just drink some water real quick. Okay, so how do you use fear to work with you instead of against you? Because the moment you let fear push you back to who you are, that's when you actually stay the same and you never achieve the things you want to achieve. And the version of you that exists cannot materialize in this reality because you're not allowing it to actually come through. That's the paradox. Okay? This is the paradox that you face. And this is the paradox of change. Because this is you right now. This version of you exists your conscious mind wants to go here, but your subconscious mind pushes you back from here. So your conscious mind wants to go this way, your subconscious mind wants to reinforce this, and it creates a constant loop of nothing actually changing. People spend daydreaming instead of actually going out to achieve their goals because the mind feels it's safer to sit down and do nothing rather than to actually go out and experience change. Why is that? Why is the mind so afraid of change? We're going to get into how to use fear to actually work with you. But first, we must understand, why is the mind so afraid of change? It's because of death. When you change, it actually feels like the part of you that was there before is actually dead. It doesn't exist anymore. The mind is naturally scared of death. See, death is not just you dying physically. Death is the version of you dying. The identity that you had is also dying. The mind fears death. So it's going to do everything in its power to avoid death because death is uncomfortable, right? Death is uncomfortable, okay? When you let go of the old version of yourself by, changing your thoughts, habits, and beliefs, the part of you actually dies. And your mind is so scared with change, it uses fear to lock you back into place. It puts you back into check. Think about how the United States, right, which is where I'm filming this video because I'm from New York City, right? Think about how the United States protects itself. It uses the military. Well, that's the way your mind works. Your mind uses the fear, which is the mind's version of the military, right? To keep you in check. Because, like I said, your mind is there to keep you the same. It's there to protect you. So once you start going out and start changing things, it's like, whoa, what the fuck is that? I don't like this. We're going to keep doing things the way we know how. And then you stay the same. But here's the thing. You have an innate ability to grow. Okay? Your soul, yourself, you are meant to grow. There's constant change, metamorphosis. You're there to constantly change. And the moment you stop changing, which is why you feel depressed, which is why you feel anxiety, because you are wanting to change, but your mind is not allowing you to change. That's when the shell of who you are starts to hurt because you can't expand your wings and fly. It starts to hurt. It causes you pain. And that pain is more safe than the pain of growth. Even though you're going to be experiencing pain no matter what, the pain of staying the same is safer to your own mind than the pain of growth. So if you're going to be experiencing pain no matter which direction you go in, now this is where you have to use fear to actually move in the direction that you want to move in, or else you will be subject to the will of your own subconscious mind. This is anti-vision, okay? Anti-vision is the practice of using pain to work with you and push you in the direction that you want to go in versus being stuck in the same place. Because now that you understand that your own mind is creating this illusion to keep you safe, how are we going to move forward? Because like I said, the 95% is subconscious, 5% is conscious. With this 5%, you're going to implement the tactic of anti-vision because the conscious mind, even though it's only 5%, this 5% influences the 95% and the 95% also influences the 5%. So it's a constant cycle, right? So instead of letting this control you, you're going to use this with you to grow, okay? So vision is a pulling force. Okay? Vision is a pulling force. When you have a vision, a dream, or an outcome, it exists out there. It exists out there. It's not happening in the reality that you're living in right now. It exists. It just doesn't exist in the here and now right now. So you have to constantly pull that towards you by constantly thinking about it, holding it in your mind and walking towards it. Now, the problem is that when you use vision alone, your mind deprioritizes it because your mind is built to use energy efficiently, okay? So regular vision is actually inefficient. because you're built to survive. Okay, now you got to remember, just because we have this higher consciousness or whatever, we're also built to survive. We're humans at the end of the day. If there's no immediate danger, if your vision doesn't support what you're doing right now, then your mind will deprioritize it. So that means when you're going out to achieve your goal, your mind will start veering you off the path of your goal because it's using it to conserve energy, it's using it to conserve the version of you that you currently are. And that's why vision alone doesn't do shit, all right? Because vision alone is just a thought. Anti-vision is a pushing force. So instead of thinking about the vision that you want, like, oh, I want to achieve X amount a month, I want to achieve this, X, Y, and Z, you think about what happens if you don't do it. What happens if you stay the same? By doing this, you use the pain of fear, the current version of yourself that you are, to start pushing you forward. Because the goal of anti-vision is to use the pain that you're going to experience no matter what to start pushing you in the direction that you want to go in. And this is how it works. You think about your vision. I want to achieve $200,000 a month. Vision exists. Anti-vision. What happens if I stay the same? Now you start pushing yourself and pulling at the same time towards your vision. And that's how you start using the pain of fear to actually aid you in your direction forward. Because if you don't understand this, you are subject to the will of your own mind. You got to remember, your mind already knows this information. It already knows this. It uses these tactics against you. Now that your conscious mind has realized it by watching this video, now that your conscious mind has used it or understands it, now you can use it to influence your subconscious mind. And then that influences your conscious mind, and you can make the choices, the conscious choices, to actually push you in the direction that you want to go in, instead of just being subject to the will of your own mind. Okay? So this is anti-vision. Anti-vision is just basically alchemy. It's basically mind alchemy. I know I probably spelled that wrong. It's mind alchemy. Alchemy, for those who don't know, is just the process of changing one form of thing into another form of thing, like mercury into gold, like apparently the Aztecs did, but we're not going to get into that. Okay, that's not this channel. Okay, so when you understand how anti-vision works, now you can start using pain to move you forward instead of having it work against you. Because the moment you realize that this is what's happening in the background of your own mind, now it has no control over you. It does have control if you let it, though. And that's why I went to explain why you need to know the background information in order for this to actually make sense. Because once you understand something, now you get to control it. Because if you don't know it, then it controls you. And the goal of this video and this channel is to get you to understand the power of your own mind so you can manipulate reality to your will and achieve the things you want to achieve, not only through these videos, but I do these for my clients as well. If you're interested in anything of that nature, there's a link down below in the description, but let's get back into this video. Excuse me. Okay, so now that you understand how your mind works and understand how the illusion of progress is actually stopping you and how to actually move forward, what you need to do now is maintain. Like I said, your mind is constantly, oh, that's the wrong diagram. Your mind is constantly scanning your environment to make sure that what it's being fed is true back to what the mind believes to be true. So it's constantly scanning. If something is off, the mind triggers fear and it uses that against you. But now that you understand that fear is going to be triggered anyway, now you're going to use it to your own, you're going to use it to actually aid you instead, right? Now, once you finally create the frame that you want to hold, you must continue to hold it. Because without you realizing right now, you're constantly reinforcing an identity right now. Everything that you do is reinforcing a version of yourself that you're living in right now. So, in order for you to keep this frame over you and continue to push towards your goals, you must constantly reinforce this frame by maintaining. Why is that? Why do you constantly need to maintain? If you don't maintain, you're going to slip back to the old version of yourself. Because remember, this version of yourself, it gets deleted, but the mind doesn't forget. The mind doesn't forget. It's going to test you. It can be years from now, and then it tempts you with something that you used to do that was detrimental to you, but it believes that it could possibly be true, which is why it sends that to you. It puts you in a situation to see how you would react. Are you this new person, or are you the person that I thought you were? Right? Because the mind, remember, you built this identity years and years and years. Your mind is not just going to give up overnight. Now, you can use your mind to help you maintain this new frame, but it's going to test you. You know what I mean? It's going to see, are you going to react the way I thought you always would? Or are you going to react with this new version? Now, when you constantly maintain, now this becomes this. And then now your subconscious mind starts protecting this instead, which is why you need to use the 5% of your conscious mind that you have access to constantly reinforce this. You need to watch where you consume. You know, watch where you consume, habits, experiences. Once you start maintaining this by constantly watching what you consume, meaning if you need to go through your algorithm or start new and start purging that shit, do it. Because your mind, your algorithm is only feeding things to you that it believes to be true. And if you feel like what you're watching and what you're consuming is stopping you from achieving your goals, then delete it, get rid of it. It doesn't matter. You need to start thinking about, is what I'm doing pushing me towards my goals? Because if it's not, then it has served its purpose and it must leave and exit your life. Because at the end of the day, you only have one of these lives that you're conscious of. You're conscious of being the person that you are right now. You will never be this person again. So this is why this is special. So if you feel like what you're consuming is not good for you, then delete your algorithm and consciously choose what things you want it to feed you. You can click on IG and click on don't, not interested. You could do the same thing on YouTube. Only watch things that push you towards your goals and it helps you understand yourself better, okay? Once you start maintaining this, the new identity gets locked into place. The new identity gets locked into place, and then your subconscious mind starts protecting that instead. Because like I said, you're supposed to work with your mind, not against it. Oh my God, my nose is itchy, bro. It's just so annoying. Okay, like I said, your mind is supposed to work with you, not against you. So when you work with your subconscious mind by understanding how to manipulate your own defenses against you by using fear, using pain, and all that stuff, then you start pushing to the version of you that achieve the goals you want to achieve. And that's how you actually use mind alchemy. And that's how you break the illusion of progress and actually use it to fuel your goals. Because at the end of the day, we are still human, okay? We have a conscience, we have things that we believe in, we have faith and all that stuff, right? Now, some people just go about life just seeing what the world brings to them. Like, first of all, if you're hanging around with people who go with the wind, do not hang out with those people. They're not intentional, okay? Now, that's another thing we need to get into. You need to be intentional, okay? Oh my God, why is this so? There we go. You need to be intentional. You need to be intentional with the things you consume, the things you do, the things you feel, and the way you react. Because if you're not intentional, then you're subject to someone else's intention. This world was built by the people on the top telling the people at the bottom what to do. These people are very intentional, okay? The 1%, the people at the top, they don't wake up every day and they're like, you know what, let me see what the world brings me. They're very intentional. They have a set of values, a set of beliefs, a set of thoughts, a set of habits that they execute every single day because they understand the power of the mind, the power of the universe, and they use that to exert their power on the 99%. These corporations, everything is intentional, is meticulously designed to exert energy out of you. If you are intentional with the way you live, the things you eat, the things you consume, the way you go about life, then you cannot be boxed in to the intention of someone else. Think about that. Your life is literally revolving around the 95% of your subconscious mind that they have influenced because of the things you consume, and you're acting in the way that they want you to act. Because remember, the 1% wants you to be a worker. That's how it is. When Rockefeller came in and fucked the whole education system, their intention was to make everyone a factory worker, which is why you have 8 hours in a class, and that's where the bell goes off at certain times to make sure you are obedient. But you can flip this on its head, okay? If you are intentional with the way you act, things you do, and beliefs, you can actually change your life for the better because you're no longer subject to the will of someone else, and you're actually actively taking action, okay? Be intentional. Watch what you do. Watch what you eat. Be intentional. Like literally force yourself to see what you actually do. You know? How many times have you went to try to do something and then 2 hours later you find yourself scrolling on TikTok? Your subconscious mind did that, okay? Your subconscious mind made a choice for you to keep scrolling, you know? Be intentional. You can catch yourself. You're not just walking around as a puppet. You can actually consciously choose. But here's the thing. Because it's you, you also identify with those habits, which is why you also choose to do those habits. The moment you stop doing the habits that you are constantly doing right now that's keeping you from achieving your goals is the moment change actually comes in. Okay? Because the thing you must understand is that when the old version of you dies, a new one must take place. Your mind cannot live without an identity. The moment you actually choose for this new version of yourself to come in, the new version of yourself is all the way over here waiting for this moment to actually happen so it can take its place. Okay? This version of yourself already exists. Stop feeding into the things, the will of other people, the will of your subconscious mind, because the moment you make a choice, because remember, habits are only habits because you choose to do them, okay? Once you realize a habit is detrimental and you keep doing it, and now is a choice, okay? It is a choice. When you keep choosing to reinforce the old version of yourself, you can't be mad that you're stuck because it is all you. You're the one doing this. You must make the choice, the hard choice to start moving forward, or else you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again. And that's why I helped in this video contextualize what the illusion of progress is, because the illusion of progress is an illusion that you created for yourself. Now that you understand this, now it is up to you to actually go out and change, because if you don't, well, you already know what happens if you don't, because you're living it right now. You're living it right now. I don't need to go out and tell you what happens if you don't change. You're already living it right now. It's pretty scary when you think about it. Okay? Everything is a choice. Everything is a choice. There's a question that's asked of you when you reach this point, okay? Because everyone has a ceiling that they reach right before the moment of breakthrough. The moment you're about to actually let go and let the person that you once were die and let the new version of yourself finally come in, you touch this ceiling. And a question is asked of you. Go on or go back? This question is asked of you the moment you're about to break through. Most people choose to go back. But the question is asked for them because this is what your mind is assessing to make sure that, is this new version of you true? Is it true? Or is this true? So everything is a choice, especially when it comes to growth. Now, here's the thing. You can sit down and not want to grow. That's okay. But if you want to grow and you think it's just going to be easy peasy and nothing is hard and it's not going to be that way, then you're in for a run, because it's always going to be painful. Now, the question is, what pain would you rather have? The pain of staying the same or the pain of growth? That is the question. Go on, go back. You must answer the question. And when you finally answer the question to go on, well, then the new version of yourself will slip right in. Pause. That sounded crazy. And then this person will finally take over and achieve the things you want to achieve. But just because you did it once doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It happens at all levels. Well, now that you understand the illusion of progress and why your mind is actually stopping you, it's you and not anyone else. Now you need to go out and finally do something about it. And if you found value in this video, I help entrepreneurs and other high achievers achieve this through mentorship. So if that's interesting to you, go to the link down below and click on it. If not, I'll see you in the next video.